Konami. They are the worst. In recent years, this once heralded gaming giant has made some absolute doozies of blunders, ranging from turning one of their most beloved IPs into a subpar pachinko game to firing one of gaming's greatest developers. And while a lot of these recent blunders seem to come to the minds of many gamers, one mistake in the past haunts me to this very day. It goes by the name of Frogger and the Great Quest. I've been meaning to review this game ever since I started this channel, but due to one thing or another, I simply was not able to get to it. I have put this one off for far too long, and now I feel it's the time to lay this game to rest. But why would you ever want to review this garbage? I hear some of you asking. The answer to that question is simple. Because it's a friggin' train wreck. And train wrecks are hilarious. This game is so bad that it killed off its own franchise. How did it do it? Well, let's start by examining what makes this game trash. Everything! Let's begin by talking about this game's story. As you would expect, we start our adventure in a swamp with Frogger and his toad friend. Now, honestly, the setup for this cutscene isn't all too bad. That is until they start talking.
I want to sap new bugs, swim new streams, be frog loose and froggy free.
That world out there is not just skaters and gators, no. There's plenty bad gree-gree to be had.
Oh lord, why am I playing this? So in this first scene, Frogger expresses that he is sick of the swamp life and dreams about venturing to the outside world. Oh gee, how original. His friend, however, tells him that the outside world is too dangerous and is no place for a frog. And then the most horrifying of monsters appear. Children. So my nightmares for the next week and a half tell each other the story of how one frog ended up becoming a prince after saving a princess of a faraway land. This gets Frogger relatively excited. And suddenly, mosquitoes! You like that? You like that transition? You like how smooth it was? It's like sandpaper on asphalt.
So cool! That was a close one, sure. Next time they make us dinner.
Well, you're a prick. And so after that, Frogger starts praying to the stars, and then a frog fairy appears? She's here to give Frogger the stuff he'll need to go on an adventure and save the girl of his dreams. And her name is...
Princess Hot Lips.
Hot Lips?
Princess Hot Lips.
Hot Lips.
Princess Hot Lips.
Hot Lips. Princess Hot Lip. Oh my gosh, Frogger is saving a porn star. This cutscene is worse than the first cutscene in Journey to the Great Valley. I'm not so sure how to put this, but everything in this cutscene just feels off. To be more specific, nothing fits in terms of a Frogger game. Magical fairies, giant mosquitoes, this abomination of nature? Where was all this stuff in the older Frogger games? Where in any of this did the developers get the idea that things like this could exist in this world? Okay, the humans and the mosquitoes, I guess makes sense, but what about all this magic stuff? Fairies, princesses, magical backpacks? That doesn't sound like Frogger, that sounds like any other generic platformer. It's like if this story wasn't clearly trying to rip off the Frog Prince, there'd be no point for Frogger to even be in this game. Wait, no, sorry, I lied. There actually is a point for him to be here. So the writers could make them sweet frog puns.
It was all frog slimy and stuff.
Fairy frog mother, frog loose and froggy free. Puppy, frog joggy, pollywoggy frog.
And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is just the sliver of the metaphorical iceberg. A lot of these cutscenes in this game have the exact same problems. One of these problems involves the side characters. In almost every cutscene besides the transition scenes, there's always about one or two characters that get thrown in and then disappear afterwards, as to never be spoken of again. It's like the characters in the game don't even want to be in this. And guess what? They sound like it too. I hate to harp on some of the voice acting here because one of the voice actors did die sometime after making this, but a lot of it is rather bad. And it's not bad in the way that you can just laugh at it either. It just sounds like nobody gave a hoot about their performances. And while there are a few decent deliveries, most of it's either way too child pandering,
Each magic stone can cast a powerful spell.
or just plain obnoxious.
Sweet, the stinky breeze.
The last point I wanted to mention about the story here is the flow of the story, or rather how it is told to us. In my review of Hour of Victory, I mentioned that there were a lot of scenes that just sort of happened and moved right into the next thing. Well, it just so happens that this game does the exact same thing, only this time, things make even less sense. This game will have you going to all sorts of places like Dark Forest temples, swamp towns, castles, the Discount Shire, evil scientist labs, and even a catacomb level filled with ghouls and ghosts. Now you would think maybe some of this stuff would actually have some decent transitions between each. And there are transitions, but nothing feels like it fits or flows into anything else. And it just screams the amount of laziness that the developers had on this project. There's even a point where you can tell that they didn't even have enough material to make one solid level with objectives, and so instead they decided that they would just have Frogger go do these random things and section off all of those into their own levels. And what that does to the story is that it just makes it longer, more jarring, and more tedious to trudge through. As if it wasn't already hard enough. Why? Well, because, surprise, the gameplay sucks too. So you know how in most platformers you can run around, do objectives in a level, maybe talk to an NPC, jump around, and well, explore? Alright, take that now, play it in your mind, only this time, nothing works. That is pretty much how it feels like to play this game. Okay, sure, walking around isn't too bad, but do anything else and this game rears its ugly head against you. Being a frog, you would imagine at least the jumping in this game would be pretty good, right? Wrong. Instead of having a standard jump arc, Frogger likes to jump through the sky, feet first to get to where he wants to go. And as you would expect, this not only makes landing your jumps awkward, but it also makes you look like an absolute doofus. This is coupled with the game's absolutely stunning hit detection, which as you can see by my footage is anything but. Sure, most things are fine, but on many occasions, things like these mushrooms get thrown in and are just infuriating to deal with. Oi, devs! Continually slipping and sliding off of platforms in your platformer is not a good thing to have, and if you happen to have that, fix it! And if you thought this here was bad enough, just look at this one moment where I'm trying to just get back up on this ledge. This game came out in 2001. There is no excuse for this. Oh, and do you see this door glitch? Yeah, me either. And this collision issue is not only applied to the platforming, but rather also to the wonky combat. Yeah, that's right. This game has combat. This is a Frogger game with combat. What the heck is this monstrosity? Now you are probably wondering, what could you possibly be fighting in a Frogger game? Well, I asked myself that exact same question, but thankfully the game answers that for us on level 4.
Rivertown was a great place before the goblin horde passed through.
Oh yes! Goblins. Because why not? What does this have to do with a Frogger game? Honestly, I'm not even really too sure why we have to fight these guys in the first place, because even though they may seem big, ugly, and scary, they don't really pose that much of a threat. Look at how much damage I'm taking from these guys. Is fighting even worth the effort at this point? At this rate, it'll take them 6 months to even knock down a village door, let alone kill a frog. And yeah, if you are wondering, there are other versions and variants of these enemies that do more damage, but these ones seem to pop up the most, and at least in my mind, that puts them in the position of the main enemies. Oh, and as if they were not already non-threatening enough, just check this glitch out.
Crasher.
Scheme's balls. You know, I'm surprisingly enough not too upset by this, because anytime that you actually have to fight, it's by far one of the most uninteresting, bland, and absolutely lame things you'll ever do in this or any other game. You just sort of sit there and slap the ever-living juices out of whatever enemy you're fighting. You do have a ranged attack via frog spit, or at least that's what I think it was. It could be snot, but I would rather not make myself more sick than this game has already made me. The attack itself is pretty bad. It does good at chip damage when it actually hits, but the lack of any ability to actually properly aim your attack makes the whole thing rather useless. Basically, unless the enemy is right in front of your face, you are not going to hit it at all. So yeah, it's just better for you just to stand there and just slap everybody to death. Oh yes, and if you are wondering, there are boss battles, and good flippity charge. They are by far some of the worst I have ever fought in a video game. And much like the basic goblins, they don't really offer any sort of challenge, and this is mostly due to the fact of how the game goes about its death system. To sum it all up, when you die, you respawn with all your progress that you made during your last life, and that includes whatever damage that you did to the boss that you were fighting. And because of the fact that there is no way you can actually game over in this game, you can just die over and over and over and over and over again with absolutely no repercussions at all. That just makes no sense at all. Like, why even have a health system at that point? Why not just make the guy invincible if he can't even die? This voids the entire game of any sort of depth or, again, challenge, which makes this entire experience just boring. And if you need any more proof that this is in fact the case, take a look at this. This is the final boss of the game. Does it seem fun, intriguing, or even the slightest bit hard? I'll answer that question for you. No, it doesn't! Also, I have next to no idea who this guy is. He wasn't mentioned earlier in the game, and again, has no previous ties to any Frogger games. He's just sort of a big, bad magic man who shoots things at you. It's by far one of the lamest excuses for a main antagonist I have ever seen. And what do you get after all this pain and misery this game has put you through? Well, what I got was a cutscene that my PS2 chugged pretty hard on, and the ending that, thanks to the models, will haunt my nightmares for days on end. And that's Frogger and the Great Quest. Good Lord. Do I even need to go any further? The game is trash. And to be quite honest, it's not surprising to me anymore that something with this level of mediocrity would ever get published. But what is surprising to me though is just how this game kind of took Frogger completely out of the spotlight. I'll admit, Frogger wasn't really at the forefront of the gaming IP race, but with games like Frogger 2 Swampy's Revenge, the game that came out before this, you could definitely see that this series had potential. But ever since this game came out, it would seem, at least for now, knowing Konami, he'll never ever get so close to reaching that said potential again. And that is indeed a darn shame. I plan on talking about Frogger 2 sometime later down on the road, and spoiler alert, that game is awesome. So yeah, this was Frogger and the Great Quest. And now I shall ask you guys a question. What is your least favorite gaming reboot? It could be recent or in the past. Let me know in the comment section below, and if you are new or liked this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe and check out my other stuff. Thank you guys all so very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, dudes!